Lucy. I'm a Macmillan nurse at Luton and Dunstable Hospital. I've worked in cancer for approximately 25 years in one way or another, both nursing and management. The way that they train now, they tend to have to find their own placements, which is quite stressful for students. What you find with the way they train now compared to how I trained was, the students come in, they do their degrees, and they're studying very hard, but what they're not getting is a really rounded qualification. They're not getting lots of experience on the wards, and of course when they qualify, then they're handed a set of keys, they're given a little bit of support, and then they're off running a ward, which is very different to how we did our training. You know, we got lots of support to start off with. We got really honed in on our skills, so you know, skills of observation, communication, all of that, and then when we were handed our keys sort of in our management time, which was the end of the second year, beginning of the third year, yes, it was stressful, but we had the skills to be able to manage a ward, sometimes with supervision, but often not with supervision. There might just be a newly qualified nurse and some healthcare assistants on. So I trained in 1992 at Lister Hospital in Stevenage. And in those days there used to be quite small cohorts of nursing students, so our group was split between two sites, Stevenage and Welwyn Garden City, and there were about 30 of us in total, so really broad spectrum training, whereas sort of now the Project 2000 type training, they tend to do adult mental health or children's training, and then they don't get a chance to you know, branch out into the other fields, so you have to specialise right from the beginning.
We had, in those days, annexes to the London hospital because of bombing. I mean, one of the first jobs when I first went to the London was to fill 16 stone-hot water bottles and put them into our emergency ward, well, as you would call it today, a reception ward, ready in case there was bombing in the night. We had our ceilings propped up with huge metal poles to strengthen them, because of the war, and we had actually had, by the time I went to the London, a bomb on the hospital. Interestingly enough, the bomb had fallen on the water supply, so the hospital hadn't gone up in flames. We didn't have drips as we have today. Drips were a rarity in our day, and as were blood transfusions. And I mean, it will horrify people today that the cross-matching for blood transfusion was done by the houseman who went down to the path lab and did the cross-matching and brought back the required bottle of blood, not a plastic container, a bottle of blood. I was lucky in that at the London we were beginning to use penicillin, because penicillin until that time had only been used for soldiers at the front. Penicillin then was given as an intramuscular injection that ran continuously for 3 hours, and it was jolly painful, it really was. And the penicillin solution that we used was a dirty brown colour. So I saw the beginnings of a great many interesting things in my career. No, the patients were absolutely everything, love. And I mean, to the degree that when a consultant said, when someone was terribly sick, "Sister, enough is enough tender loving care," and you knew then that they had to have tender loving care until they died. I nursed a man who had a very serious gunshot wound in his head and had got a very badly infected ear, but he had the most tremendous rigors when his temperature went up to 104, and then you despaired of him living. But he had intramuscular penicillin. He was so seriously ill that we student nurses went off nights and nights and nights thinking that we wouldn't see him the next morning, that he would have died during the night. But I had the great pleasure of walking him to the front hall of the London hospital, and I met him in the street 3 years later, perfectly well. Right. We had our patients so much longer than they do today, so that we really got to know them. And I can see him now. He was a great character. I think accepting the fact that patients died, and I shall always remember the words of my senior sister tutor, who said to us when she was teaching us how to do last offices, "It's easy to teach people to live, but it is extremely difficult to teach people to die." And the longer I look at the nursing world today, the more I appreciate that that's one of the things that they really do need to be taught. Because I do not think that the care of the dying is good at all. Most of it is very, very inadequate.